everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, I am so excited just to share some tiny things that can make a huge difference in our life. But I want to teach in a little different way because if any of you are followers of the YouTube channel or any of you are those who have taken some of the level up classes, you know we learn things in a little experiential way, but a way that hopefully you can remember. And I talked about, wow, if there's one huge thing that we could do to pull into 2025 that would make so much difference, it is this concept that we're going to talk about tonight. And it is so powerful. Did you listen to the words? I'm unstoppable. I am unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. This is what we have the capability of doing, but there's some things that get in our way that stop us from really becoming and being and doing. So tonight, these are going to be some simple concepts, but taught just a little bit differently, because what we want to do is emphasize that, if we just do these things, we become that Porsche with no brakes. We become unstoppable. We step into the identity of who we truly are supposed to be. Because there are things that actually get in the way of who we are. And then we act and react. And sometimes we don't do anything. We don't even act because of some simple things that are happening to us that we may not even be aware of. But once we're aware and empowered, oh, wow, look out. And, I'm excited that you're here because it tells me that you are wanting to go forward. You're wanting to become empowered. Level Up Empowering Possibilities is all about showing some simple scientific tools that can help us go on a journey of transformation. And it's not just about, oh, let's learn a couple skills and motivate ourselves. It's about transforming, having those paradigm shifts of where we understand things with a very different lens, because then we start seeing life in a very different way. Ultimately, we are stepping into becoming the creators of our life, because life will come at us like this. And yes, we can dodge and move or let it move us wherever it takes us. And I will have to say, I was totally that way because I didn't know any different. And then 10 years ago, when I stepped into some powerful learnings and teachings and mentors and friends that embraced a different way of living, oh my gosh, it was so powerful. And in some ways, I feel unstoppable. In some ways, I am still utilizing these skills every single day to move me towards the life of my dreams. And more importantly, to maneuver the life that we're in, right? Because it is very different. And I don't know about you guys, but there are times when I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I go, oh my gosh, is that another wrinkle that just appeared on my face? Like, oh, oh my gosh, that hurt. Where did that come from? Or I'm like, oh my goodness, I have these big bags under my ow eyes. And or if you're a woman, a lot of times, girls, we know we step on the scale, we're like, what? 4 pounds? I only ate an ice cream cone. Ow! And we are beating ourselves up. And guys, it's like, well, I tried out for the team and I was the worst one. Ow, ow. And we are beating ourselves up. Or I tried for that job and I know I was the best, but they didn't even look at me. I'm never going to get the right job. Ow. And we are beating ourselves up with an ugly stick. Have you ever had that happen? You get up in the morning and all of a sudden we're beating ourselves up, ow, with an ugly stick, with these thoughts that don't serve us, these self-deprecating thoughts. And where does this ugly stick come from? Is it somebody up above us that's like flailing it around? No, it comes from ourself. It is something that we beat ourselves up with. And it's interesting, it comes in all shapes and sizes. And we're really small when we start getting our ugly stick. Did you know you all have an ugly stick? Yes. Or maybe you have an arsenal. I have quite a collection of ugly sticks. But a lot of it happens when we are really young. From birth to age 7 are such formative years. And that's when we figure out whether we're safe or not and how to view life, right? When we're little, we get this little, I don't know if you can hear that, this little ugly stick. And how we are treated when we're little, we get these ideas of whether or not we are safe or whether or not we're loved. I remember I worked on something for years and years when I was 3 years old. It was like I didn't feel like it was worthwhile or that nobody would hear my needs or my wants. And you know what it was based off of? Something my mother would say to me. And by the way, I had an amazing mother. But to a 3-year-old, when she wouldn't let me eat ice cream before every meal, it was like, no, you're not going to have ice cream. You can't have ice cream. It's like they never listened to me. And maybe my 3-year-old one looked like this, right? They never listened to me. So I started thinking that people didn't hear my needs when I was young. So think about this. There are some things that you do now. There are ways that you are now hitting yourself because of something that you learned when you were little. It could be that it really was just a perception of how you took things. But it also could be that there are things that were in your life that were really hard, that should never have happened, that you were beat up by somebody else's ugly stick. And then you took it upon yourself to get your own ugly stick. And then you started beating yourself up with your own ugly stick. And it's interesting. It's almost like in junior high, they said, okay, here's your class schedule, and oh, here's your ugly stick. You know, have you ever gone down the hallways in high school? And sometimes it feels like this. Like there's these huge ugly stick battles that are happening out there, right? Because we don't just use them on ourselves. We go out there and we start battling, right? And sometimes it's so vicious, I almost feel like I need some armor on to be able to go down the hallway because I've been there and walked along and I've heard. And sometimes that ugly stick, it may not look like a stick. It could actually look like one of these because this can also be used as an ugly stick. And it's so easy to reach out with those barbs and hurt someone, put that out in cyberspace because you don't even have to see their facial reaction when they receive that. But it's as if they're being hit over the head with a huge ugly stick. And we also do that down the freeway. Have you ever noticed you go down the freeway and people are having ugly stick battles? Have you ever seen road rage before? Never seen what that's like. And you know what I'm talking about. You've seen the road rage. You've seen people cutting people off and the reaction that happens. It's almost like these clubs are out the window and they're beating themselves up, beating each other up. Now, I don't know what your club looks like, but let's talk a little bit about why we have these ugly sticks. And I want to take you to this diagram that we've used a lot over the past. Now, in Level Up, we teach a lot of scientific concepts. One of them is this emotions of choice. There are choices, of course, that are empowering, and there are choices that are disempowering. And this is just a brief diagram of something that we use. The one we actually use in the course is a lot more detailed. But we know that there are emotions that we step into that empower us in a good way, right? They give us good power. There's also emotions that we have that take our power away. And honestly, that's what we want. We want to be unstoppable. We want to have power. But the emotions that we step into really decide what kind of energy we're going to have. So if we look back on that chart, if I'm feeling worthless, worthless is the bottom of the emotional empowerment chart. And shame is at the very, very bottom of that. When we're down there, we are basically disempowered. We have drained the power from us. And you know, what good is in electronics? Think about power and electronics. What good are electronics if they have no power? If the battery is drained, and if it's draining, it hardly has any power and it's kind of useless, right? Let's think about the lights you have in your room right now. If it doesn't have much energy, you know, if they're just kind of flickering, what good are they? Or think about a car battery. If it doesn't have the juice and it can't turn over that motor, that battery is drained. The car can't run. It can't be functional, right? Well, the same is with us. When our battery is drained, when we're doing things that take power away from us, we're literally draining our battery. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the strength, we don't have the vigor, we don't have the get up and go. We are running as a car, I would say, without all of its cylinders. So when we can feel emotionally that we are loved, we're worth it, and we're good enough, and of course there's another hierarchy that I can share with you at another time, but these basics, if they are not met, we are drained. Those emotions are power for us. And the first place we have to look to find that power is within ourselves. Now, I want to talk a little bit about bullies. And this is maybe an oversimplification, but I think it's worth bringing up. When we talk about other people who bully other people, if you go down to the root of their behavior, we react in life based on our life experiences. And we know in the brain, in the gut, and the heart, there's a lot of neurons in there. And the neural network literally records everything we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. So everything we're experiencing, even what you're hearing right now through the screen, is being recorded by the neural system. And of course, with more emotion or repetition, it stays in there and it builds that big neural bundle. And every time life happens, we're like this big supercomputer. Did you know that? Our brain and our heart and our gut are like this big supercomputer. And when you come up against having to react some way, it goes down to the computer. It goes, how should I react to this? Well, it'll find all the times when you were up against a situation that was very similar. And it'll tell you how you should react based on the information that it has. Now, it doesn't mean that that information is the right way. It just means that's how we've experienced life. And so we're habituated to act and react in a certain way. Now, go back to bullies. They act and react the way they do because of instances that have happened in their life experiences. That's their point of reference. So a lot of times they will get a dopamine hit. Yes, they'll get a dopamine hit from reaching out and hitting you with their ugly stick. They'll get that high of feeling of they have control, but that high is only temporary. And then they have to do it again and again to get that same dopamine hit. But ultimately, it doesn't last. It's not lasting. And the truth is, they want us to feel as miserable as they do. So that's why they react. So if we were able to cut open their brain and open it up and look at the life experiences that they had, we would understand why they're reacting that way. Now, I have a friend that was severely abused by her father. Now, in ways we can't even talk about. But one of the things that she found out after he passed away, she went to live with her aunt, who was his sister. And she told of the atrocities, the way his father treated him, and then how the great-grandfather treated her grandfather. So it was a generational thing of how they were being treated. And she had a better understanding as to why he was the way he was. But it didn't mean it was right. But he was passing on what generationally had been experienced, and the next person and the next person, the next. And that is our responsibility. Wherever we are right now, our responsibility, our opportunity is to be the chain breaker. We can stop these ugly stick battles. We can stop those things that are happening. We can stop those things that we are doing to ourselves. We can stop this. And all we have to do is learn some skills. And when we stop this, we start learning our true identity. And it's pretty powerful when we can stop abusing one person that we should be treating the most precious. And that is ourself. There's some very simple things we can do. I'm going to take you to a saying by James Carr. He was a noted psychologist. One of the things he said was, I feel better about you when I feel better about me. In other words, I can treat you more kindly when I'm kind to myself. I can be more tolerant with you when I'm more tolerant with myself. I can actually trust you more when I can trust myself. When I feel better about me, I can feel better about you. Now, there's one other ugly stick that I haven't shown you yet. And I want to talk to you parents. I want to talk also to your future parents. Sometimes we've had an ugly stick for so long that we get used to honing it and getting it nice and sleek. And it I can reach out and I can hit my kids so fast. It can hit with lightning speed and be so hard and so sharp. I can hit my teens. I can hit my spouse. I can hit those I work with. And it's so sleek, I can hide it away. And no one even knows it's there. But when I need it, I can whip that thing out and I can sting in a way. I have to tell you, as I've taught this concept over the years, I have looked into the eyes of teens and parents who have felt the sting of a parental or someone else who has honed their ugly stick to a place of where it is deadly and it hurts. And you know what's so interesting when we were talking about bullies and the sting, and some of them have become professional bullies, is that, again, if we knew the background, we may have more compassion. Doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. But there's ways that we can heal from those stings. And Level Up, we teach a lot about healing. Because sometimes there's things that happen in our life that should never have happened, right? But there's a way. There's a way to come back. But there's another saying that Daniel Litchford used to say. He said, to the extent you give other people what they need, the universe, I put in, the universe will give you what you need. To the extent whatever you put out there is what comes back to you. It's karma. So if I want more patience, I have to give more patience. If I want more friends, I have to be a friend to other people. If I want more kindness, I have to be kind to other people. If I want more tolerance and patience, I have to be tolerant and patient to other people, right? So to the extent that we give others what they need, the universe is going to bring back. It's not necessarily that person, right? If I'm kind to that person, it does not guarantee they're going to be kind back to me. Oh boy, have I not only experienced that, I still experience it with some people. But I know that what I put out there is going to come back to me. But go back to what James Carr said, I feel better about you when I feel better about me. For me to do for others, I need to work on myself. So I got to put down my ugly stick. So what are some ways that I can literally put down that stick? Let me step you into another analogy, okay? I want you to look at this beautiful picture. What do you see there? Is that not beautiful? How many of you have beautiful gardens or are gardeners, right? Just put a yes in the chat. Is that not amazing to be able to see something flourish and grow? Well, our life is like this beautiful garden. And what you see in there, there could be fruits, there could be vegetables, there could be plants and flowers and all these beautiful things. And I will tell you, in my area, I have some master gardeners. Their gardens are so pristine and so beautiful, but they will tell you that they all have something in common. They all get weeds. They all get weeds. And really, our life is like a garden. We all have weeds. And if you talk to a gardener, some of these master gardeners, they wouldn't say, oh my gosh, my garden is broken. I have weeds. I cannot believe it. Oh my gosh, they keep coming up. No, they go out and they nourish, they nurture and they tend and they talk to their flowers, etc. And they weed and they prune and they till. And they do it regularly. And they never think, oh my gosh, I'm a failure as a gardener because weeds came up. No, they just know that that's part of life. That's what you do to have a beautiful garden. Well, for us to be able to plant something that doesn't come up as an ugly stick, right? We have to plant something different. But we got to get that weed. Now, have you ever like just chopped weeds off? Just chopped them off? What happens? Put that in the chat. What happens when you just like kind of break it off or cut it off? Yeah, it grows back, right? It comes right back. So to get rid of those weeds, you really got to go down to the root. If you can get that root out, at least that one is not going to grow into one of these, right? We're going to be able to pull that out. So far in our life, that's the same way. There are things that we have to nurture every single day. Weeds that we have to pull out, and we all have weeds. That's just life. We did not come into life just and are just in autopilot and we just live this happy life. No, we came down here to have opposition. We came down here to have weeds. Came down here to have some hard things. We came down here to be able to learn how to maneuver life and make choices. Because we have choice. And sometimes we feel like we don't have choice. We don't feel like we're empowered because there's things that are tough. But when we have the skills, when you have the tools, just like a gardener, when you've got one of those weed diggers, oh my gosh, it's so much easier to be able to cultivate your garden. So the weeds, what are the weeds? The weeds show up as thoughts. They show up as feelings and emotions. And they show up as actions because the bigger that weed gets, that is becoming our behaviors, etc., right? I don't know about you guys, but I have a collection of I have quite a collection of ugly sticks. And at different times in my life, they've been different sizes. Those weeds are like the ugly sticks, and we need to pull them out. So there's three little tools that I want to teach you tonight that we can utilize to be able to stop the stick, to be able to put down our ugly stick and start stepping into the identity of who we truly are. So the first one, number one, we got to stop the stick. We got to identify, be aware of our thoughts. We got to stop them in our tracks. So one of the best ways I've found to be able to stop the stick is to be able to be aware that it's a stick, right? Have you guys ever been in a situation where you thought a thought and then all of a sudden you think another thing and then another thing? I had a gal that just made an offhanded comment about what kind of mother I was. And we kind of laughed about it. And then she left. She left. She brought her kids over and then she left. And then I didn't think more of it. But then I got in the car and I had to run down to the post office. It's only 5 minutes away. But all the time I was thinking, oh, does she think that I'm not a good mom? You know, she laughed at that. But is that truly how she feels I am? By the time I got down to the post office, oh, I had spiraled that thought. That ugly stick was like out and I was red. I was like, oh my gosh, who does she think she is? I cannot believe she made fun of me. I'm going to unfriend her. I'm not going to talk to her anymore. That was 5 minutes. an offhand comment meant to be funny. I took and my thoughts spiraled me. What maybe started out as being like this, oh, wait, did she make fun of me? I could have put it down then, but I didn't. I let it spiral to where it was this big, hairy stick. You ever done that before? Can you relate? Am I the only person who spirals out of control? So here are some things that are very helpful. We got to be able to, we got to stop the stick. We got to be able to identify it, right? If we just let our emotions go, as soon as we put emotion with our thoughts, I mean, we only get 60,000 thoughts a day. What? Yes. So we need to be able to be aware of how we're thinking. So a couple of things I like to do is ask myself some questions is like, is this thought leading me to my goal? I mean, you probably have some goals. And if you don't, Level Up is where we help you come up with those goals and then a master plan, a life plan that we write in the here and now is so powerful. But you know where you want to go. I ask, does this lead me to my goal? Is this thought helpful? I mean, there could be truth to thoughts, right? But is it really helpful? Is it compassionate? Is it empowering me? Or is it pulling power away from me? And if it is, I'm going to pluck that thing. I'm going to pluck that thought while it's still small. Okay, so you ready to play? Let me throw out a couple examples of things that we may say to ourselves. See if you resemble any of these. And then I want you to tell me, what is that creating? So let's just step into this skill for a second. One of the things I've said to myself, I am the worst mother in the world. I am failing in my responsibilities. Or you might say, I'm the worst dad in the world. I'm not even following through with my responsibilities. I'm not even following through with my obligations. Okay, so stop right there. What is that creating? What emotions come up when we think of those things? Like failure, overwhelm, not sure how you're going to do all these things. So put in the chat what you feel, what you would feel if you were thinking this, if you're a parent. Yeah, could be failure or not good enough. Or here I am, I'm following right after my mother and my father's footsteps. Or how am I going to achieve this? Kind of hopelessness, right? Okay, here's another one. Here's a question for teens. My friends never let me know what's going on. They always leave me out. So what is that creating? If you were thinking that, first of all, let's stop and use the skill. Is that taking me to my goal? What's your goal? Would that be taking you to your goal? Is it helpful? Is it compassionate? Is it empowering you? What are the feelings? Chat those down. What are feelings you would have if you thought, my friends never let me know what's going on? They always leave me out. What is that creating? Yeah, that could be feelings of isolation. And we have to go, whoa, stop. Anytime we've come up with those thoughts that are not leading us towards our goal, but leading us away from our goal, we have to stop at that point and go, whoa, stop. I use a word like tally ho, like, oh, and also a little celebration, like, oh, I caught it. I caught the stick when it was here. I stopped the stick and have a celebration. Now, why do we do that? Why would you celebrate stopping the stick? First of all, it starts training your brain like, oh, evaluate what you're thinking. Where's that thought leading you to? Is it doing you any good? And then when it starts catching those thoughts, it'll start helping you catch them in the future. This is training our brain to stop the stick. It's really so powerful. Now let's go on to step number two. Step number two is you've got to replace the thought with one more empowering. So if we got hold of that weed and we were going to pull it out and we left a hole, well, something else could grow in there, right? So we got to replace the thought with something more empowering. All of our emotions and our actions are a result of what we think. So we have to put those thoughts in training wheels. We have to tell it where we want it to go instead of just going where it's leading us, right? And we have to think, what's the thought I want to think? What is the seed I want to plant so I can grow fruit instead of big ugly stick, right? Who wants a garden of this, right? I would rather have this bouquet of fruit and vegetables and vines and whatever it is you want in your garden that is going to serve you in the future. So let's go back to some of those thoughts that we had. I'm the worst mom or dad. What could you say instead? Like stop the thought, like, whoa, stop the stick. And then what would you say? Put that in the chat. Some of the things we could say would be, oh, I really wasn't sensitive in that instance, but I think I'm going to go and have a heart to heart, or I'm going to apologize, or I wasn't able to make that because I didn't organize my time, but now I know better. I'm going to make sure it happens. I can do this. I can do this. Can you see how we are encouraging ourselves, our brains? We're not using this. We may go, yeah, I kind of did this, but oh, I'm putting it down the stick. And I'm going to think of a solution or how I'm going to try. I've learned from that. And that's not going to be my reality. What about the thought, my friends never let me know what's going on? They always leave me out. What's a thought you could replace? Instead of that, you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to think that. I'm not going to think that. What's a thought you could replace that with? Okay, chat that really quick. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to keep in the loop. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to see what's going on. Maybe I can organize some things. Do you see the difference of what we're planting instead of planting things that are beating ourselves up? We are now coming up with the thoughts of this is the solution. I don't like the feeling of being left out, so maybe I'll be the one to reach out. So stop the stick and replace it with a thought of your choice. That's more empowering, right? Now, the third thing is give your mind something to grow instead of the ugly stick. So create those fruits and those flowers. In that song, I'm unstoppable. I want to read you those lyrics because I think they're so powerful. I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. I win every single game. I'm so powerful. I don't need batteries to play. I'm so confident. Yeah, I'm unstoppable today. Now, what does that have to do with anything? I am. Those words I am are incredibly powerful because whatever you put after that actually creates. Now, if you choose to be a part of Level Up, you learn the power of creation. We actually teach you how to speak a different language, the language of conscious creation. No, and it's not hard. It's not like French or German or whatever. But once you start being aware of the words that you're saying, it's like, whoa, mind blowing what you can create with your words. So anything you put after I am starts creating. So that's why affirmations is another way that you can create new neural pathways. We need to start telling our brain what we want to create, what flowers, vegetables, plants we want in our garden, right? So it could be that I'm so powerful, I'm directed, I'm focused, I'm on my mission, I'm kind and considerate, I'm loving, I'm patient, I'm gracious, I'm articulate, I'm compassionate. Whatever your I am statements are, those words have immense creative power. So be thinking, What are those I am statements I want to put in? And you may not totally feel that way. I know I have people that I admire that I want the way they react. I want their virtues. I want the way they do things. I want their work ethic, whatever it is. So I gather from them what I want to be based off of things that I know of other people. Could be famous people that you admire. And I compile a list of I ams and then say those morning and night. When you use more repetition and emotion, put it with music. Music brings emotion, high intense emotion. Your brain starts holding on to those instead of the ones that are trying to take it down, instead of the ugly stick ones. But you know what? It's all about the day will come when we go, wow, I am some of those things. I am compassionate. I am kind. I am organized. I'm all these different things. We are carving new neural pathways. We can't just sit there and let life decide which way it's going to blow us. We have to have the determination to say, this is the direction I'm going. Now, these three tools I just gave you might say, oh, I kind of knew those. I kind of knew those. But they're so simple that most people overlook them. Now, level up, we've got more tools. We have one of the tools that takes you down to your subconscious so you can find out what's down there that is really getting in your way of becoming who you want to be. It's just transmuting it so that you don't carry that weight around. Like, what do you mean? I don't have anything in my subconscious. Wouldn't you like to go down there? Are you curious to go down there and see what's down there? It is fascinating. But if you use these three simple things can help us get rid of the ugly sticks, put down the sticks in our life. And once we stop using them on ourselves, we're less likely to be out there having those ugly stick battles with other people. One of the things I wanted to mention is, do you know what happens when we reach out and hit someone else? It's the double womp effect. It may hit them, but it comes back and it hits us twofold. Why is that? Remember, to the extent we give others what they need, the universe will give us what we need. When we are sending out bad to others, that karma comes back to us. So whatever it is what we want in our life, we send out, that in some way, shape, or form will come back to visit it. When it becomes innately who we are, that's what we reap in life. That's what's so exciting. Now, at Level Up, we're all about the journey of transformation. And it starts with some of these simple things that we talked about tonight, and we grow into, where does fear show up and how do you take care of that? What about setbacks in your life? What about having that resilient mindset? How do I find out what my passions are? How do I awaken those? How do I step into being this conscious creator? How do I set my goals? How do I make that life blueprint that I can come down and start living today? Well, it's all science-based. So how do you learn it? You participate two different ways. One is online, and another way for teens is the live boot camp, which is taught in the summertime. You can go to the website to find out when the next time is that you can start reserving your space. There is limited space on that. But everyone participating in the program is given a manual with all the graphic information and stories on principles. But you also have a companion journal where you actually record your journey of transformation. And then at the very end, we have all these power tools that we create to be able to help you step into the here and now. This isn't just for teens. This is for the teen in all of us. This is for parents. I have so many mothers that say, I wish I would have known this earlier in my life, but I'm glad that I learned it now. Here are some of the testimonials right here. The first is from one of the women that are taking this course. And she said, it's helped me more than you know. I feel like I'm being the mom I wanted to be, but didn't know how to be. I'm learning emotional regulation. I wish I could have known all along, but I am so glad I'm learning it now. From another one of our moms who actually had her teens in our program, she said, I have 3 children that participated in the Level Up course. Each of these children have really amazing things happening in their lives as they're implementing the tools from this course. I believe that this can be really effective for helping teens and adults understand the fears they're dealing with and understand how to problem solve using their new skill sets. Empowerment looks great on my kids. And from one of our teens, Eric, he said, you probably didn't know this, but I was struggling to know why I was even alive. My thoughts were hard for me, and then chapter 2 threw me a lifesaver. You will never know how grateful I am. Seriously. And there's so many other testimonials that we could talk about. Classes begin in January. Time is going to pass whether we do something or not. But when we jump into empowering ourselves, that's when we truly step into our full potential. That's when we step into our potential. That's when we become who we want to become. Because we are creators and we create the life that we want. Are there factors? Yeah, we need to learn how to maneuver those factors. 10 years ago, I didn't have a direction. I didn't realize that I could actually carve out the life that I wanted. I didn't realize that there were things that I need to heal from the experiences that I have in the past, from the wounds that I have, from the ugly stick battles. But through mentors and classes and learnings and inspiration, this course became not only my healing journey, but my empowering journey based on the fun that you learn through the science of the mind and the body. So why do we have adults and teens taking these classes? What's the saying? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Parents, why not jump in on a class of your own, learning these empowerment skills, life skills, the skills that we need for now. Life is so uncertain. One of the biggest skills that we need is to be able to understand how to maneuver life, how to problem solve, how to be creative. Because creatives, when one door shuts, they see 20 that open. Why should teens take this? For the exact same reasons. These are life skills for the here and now, and it's learnings that you'll take throughout your life. When you join online, you have access to the materials for a year. You can come live, or you can watch the recordings at your convenience. I would love to be able to take you on this transformational journey so that you can experience the things that I have experienced in my life. We've got to stop the stick. We've got to put down our ugly sticks that we utilize against ourselves and against others. Now, I have 2 more webinars coming up if you enjoy this kind of learning. The second one is about what are 3 things we can do to help other people put down their ugly stick. And I have a fun little quiz that you can evaluate the people that you spend the most time with and the influence they have on you and the influence you have on them. That'll be next. In the 3rd webinar is all about identifying different things that we need to heal in our life. I hope you'll join us for those webinars. And if you feel called, go to the website, levelupteam.com/shop. You can go into the shop and see the classes. The dates that they start is coming up now in January, and I would love to be your guide through this empowerment curriculum. One of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is the tools to be able to handle life. I hope that you will join us. Take a peek at some of the things that we have. Take the brain quiz to see if you're right brain or left brain. Thank you for coming tonight. And more importantly, thank you for being interested in your empowerment.